Welcome back to the ML Sports Platter. It's all brought to you by CH Insurance, Batavia Downs Gaming, and our good friends at the CNY Golf Shop and Range. Make sure you go visit them for the best in golf. Tour Edge, Mizuno, TaylorMade, Callaway, and a heck of a lot more. My man Kenny and the staff doing a great job. Route 11 in Cicero. I brought on a good pal of mine through the years. I've had him on so many shows. It's Brian Jacobs, of course, a PGA Director of Instruction and award-winning coach, teacher, speaker, motivator. You know it. You name it. He's done it in the sport of golf, and you can get him on the social platforms like X at Brian Jacobs Golf. He's also a partner friend of the program. Brian, it's so great to have you aboard, buddy. How are you?
Thanks, Mike. I'm doing great. Back in New York, loving it.
That's right. That's right. We're all still officially waiting, I think, for the weather to turn, but a place where the weather was hot, and boy, was Scottie Scheffler also hot. He has this unbelievable ability to just fix the bad hole. You know, he's so mentally strong. So, bad hole, no problem. He bogeys 1, birdies 2, bogeys 6, 9, no problem. 3 birdies on the back, and he ends up winning with the score he went into Sunday with after the Rahm run and a few others had kind of charged and chased, but it wasn't meant to be. Scheffler gets it done for his 3rd major, and yes, everybody, he can win another course besides Augusta. Enough of that narrative. Right. Give me your takeaways of the PGA. Scottie, you teach the game, his mental strength, kind of loop it all in, and then we'll talk about your stuff.
Yeah, I think that with Scottie in particular, he's very, very grounded, right? He knows who he is and who he isn't. And what we try to teach with our students even is trying to empower them. Like, you know, I listened to part of his post-round interview about, you know, he just started off hitting it left.
Yeah.
And so are you going to do it all day or are you going to change it? And so we kind of teach students that it's a body of 3, really. It's a mistake, you know, unintentionally, and then you have to do something intentional to change it, and then you can have the Mona Lisa the rest of the day. And his round was a perfect example of that, where he was left and then he started to move it the other way, and then it got better. And it's just that's a tribute to his coaching too, that's how his coach would teach him. I'm sure that, you know, he'd not go to mechanics. He would go to which way is the ball curving, and I got to move it the other way, or otherwise this is going to be bad. And I was really pulling for Alex Noren too. He's a member at the club that I just finished working at. So, and it was a train wreck for him just from hole 1 through the day. But it was good to see him relevant, and he's a super nice guy. And, you know, he's been around a long time, so I think he was really enjoying watching even Scottie do what he was doing. It was a special day for him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Noren's a great player, too. It's funny. I've seen 3 tournaments at Quail Hollow in person, and, you know, yes, it's a bomber's paradise, and the par 5s are crazy, and they're gettable for these guys, even with that rain in the beginning of the tournament. But people don't know until they really watch over and over. Those greens are hard to hold. I mean, you saw those balls flying all over the place. And Scheffler, you know, you can argue he's the best at this, he's the best at that, certainly the best ball striker, certainly the best mentally. You put those 2 things together, Brian Jacobs, you know how that goes. You're going to win some tournaments, and he nails it. When let's get over to your stuff now too. I mean, you know, just kind of that last transition in from Scheffler into, you know, what you do every day. How do you, you know, tell students? How do you help them with the mind part? That's where I wanted to start with you, because golf is so mental. I mean, I know what you said about, are you going to fix it? Well, you try to fix some things in golf, and sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Right.
And you can't pass the ball to a teammate here. This is golf. You got to look at yourself in the mirror. So the mind part, Chef, you know, do you tell people, hey, try to stay calm? Is it better to not be, like, if you're a hyper person, pull back a little bit? How do you work that in with how good or not good people are at the game of golf? How do you work that part in?
Right. Well, I think it's a skill, number one, and it has to be trained. And so when you're a leisure player, you'll see a lot of people get angry, and people don't understand golf is probably the hardest game to play. I mean, I was high level baseball and played college football. Football and baseball were incredibly easy compared to golf. There's so much going on. There's games within games, right? The driver is a different game than the irons, and putting is a completely different game than any other part of the game. And so what we have to do is we have to look at is a person anxious or are they excited? Number one. And we have to lower the anxiety and raise the excitement part of it. And then the butterflies in your stomach we can use, in a positive way. And so it's okay to be nervous. Those guys are nervous. Like it's just like when I played football, I would get super hyped up, super nervous. And then as soon as you got hit, you were fine. And it's the same with these guys too. Once they start getting into the flow of their round, or any player, once you start to get into the flow of the round, the problem is that people don't work at the mental side of the game very much because they don't practice properly. They don't game enough. They do a lot of what we call block work, which is they go out and they hit the same club over and over and over and over, same shot, same distance, same curve. That's not golf. Golf is many curves. It's different, and it's changing clubs, and it's putting yourself into hard situations. Just look around sometime, go to a practice green sometime before a round of golf and watch where everybody chips from. They chip from right underneath the hole, clean, wide open off the apron. That's not where they hit it, but they don't chart it that way. So I had a student at the last facility that I was at. I saw him practicing one day and he was doing the same thing. And I picked up the bucket and I started walking with it. And he goes, "What are you doing?" And I go, "I'm putting you where you hit it. I'm looking at your stats and you miss it short left in the rough every time. So why are you practicing, pin high right? You never hit it there." And what I would do with my players, and I still do, is I chart their stats, especially their miss. Is it left? Is it right? Is it short? Is it long? Is it pin high? And then you can spend your practice time there. And when you start to look at good players, they'll hit 11.8 greens per round. A guy like Scottie Scheffler, typically Jordan Spieth. So you're going to have 6 or 7 misses. Well, where do you miss? And they don't miss everywhere. If you watch their misses, they're in the same spot every time. So everything's pretty predictable for them, and that's how they work their practice, and it's an interesting tale for even a leisure player. They don't keep any stats. They just go out and hit it, and then they get angry and they go home and they look on the internet, which is great. I love the internet because it drives people into my business because they're so bad. They're in so much pain. They need help. And so, long answer, you have to be trained to think a certain way and to understand you're probably going to hit 10 fairways. So you're going to miss 4. And where's your miss? Is it wild? Is it, generally they miss the same way. And then you're going to miss, 6 or 7 greens. And if we can increase the greens in regulation, obviously, and if we can hit 6 greens and have 15 or less putts per 9 holes, you're going to have a pretty special day in golf.
Yeah, I like that. Brian Jacobs with us, of course, PGA Director of Instruction. You can get him on X at Brian Jacobs Golf. Has a tremendous platform and has been at it for a long time. BrianJacobsCoaching.com. You've been obviously spending some time with athletes, right? Some Buffalo Bills through the years and all the rest. Touch on a few players you've worked with.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, back in the old days, Aaron Schobel, he was the first guy I worked with. And I remember meeting him for the first time. My brother taught him in high school. And then Bud Carpenter, the head trainer there, was a good friend. And he said, "Aaron wants to learn how to play golf." And
another Buffalo Bill who deserved better, by the way.
Absolutely.
He was a hell of a player.
Oh, my God. Unbelievable. So he came to me and he said, "I got to ask you a question. How long will it take?" And I said, "How long will it take for what, Aaron?" He said, "How long will it take for me to get on the PGA Tour?" He said, "Because I'm about ready to retire in about 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
And if I put some time in," he says, "I'm pretty sure that I can, make it to the PGA Tour." And I said, "Aaron,
confidence.
You're never going to make the PGA Tour." I said, "But you'll be a good player. You spent your whole life being a football player." And kind of one thing that was really interesting about Aaron, he didn't care much for practice. He loved to practice golf, though, but football practice he didn't care much for. Loved the games. And he would call me. He would call me from camp even as a veteran in his last couple of years. And he'd say, "I'll meet you at, your academy, da, da, da." So I was at Ravenwood at the time, and we used to go to the back range and just talk. And he still contacts me every once in a while, or, um, and he's living in Columbus, Texas still. And I've been to his house. I used to give him lessons right at his house, in Texas. Sometimes when I'd go to visit my brother, I just spent a year with Dwight Freeney. And Dwight is one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet in your whole life.
Sure is. Part of Syracuse football now.
Yes, sir. The
Yep.
nicest,
Again.
just intelligent, respectful, hardworking. I mean, and he plays golf. He plays golf with Michael Jordan every single day.
Yeah.
5 days a week, 36 holes, and so
losing a lot of money.
well, maybe. He won't, because he's Michael and him are partners.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and I played a little golf with Dwight, and he's phenomenal. I mean, our goal was for him to win one of these celebrity events, and he's done a couple top tens. And I said, our challenge is that you have kickers and quarterbacks and pitchers from baseball that play in these too. And he kind of looked at me and he goes, well, what do you mean? I go, well, I mean, a relief pitcher pitches, once every 7 days, so they play golf every day. And I said, kickers, they barely kick. I said, so they get a chance to really work at their games. And quarterbacks, for some reason, in my experience, they're just really good. I played with Tyler Thigpen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that name.
Sure do.
Tyler legitimately could play on tour if he wanted to. He played at Mill Creek with Lee Smith's clubs, which were an inch over standard, and he shot 31 on the front nine. He was 5 under. I shot 29 the same day. We were playing just the white tees, right?
Wow.
And I pulled him aside. I said, Tyler, if you ever wanted to play on tour, I said, you have a legitimate chance to play. He goes, I don't really like it that much, So it's interesting, when and the guys that I've worked with.
Yes, but I'm not really thrilled with
it. Yeah. And a lot of them are, they either love it and they're not that great.
Yeah.
Or they are not that, they're great and they're just like not that interested. Like Lee really loved it. I saw Lee a lot. I used to help Mike Cawson, Chris White, Ruvel Martin, Dawson Knox. I helped a little bit with his game. Gabe Davis, when he first came in. I mean, Gabe's awesome. Gabe has really fell in love with the game. And then I was sad to see him go, but you learn when you're coaching these guys, if you can get them to their second contract, that's kind of when you can really start working with them. But to get them through their first one, even Eric Wood I've worked with over the years here and there. And I mean, Eric's really, he just loves golf. I mean, he's at Valhalla and, he's a medalist. And so he just loves the game.
That signature spin move of Dwight Freeney, by the way, is just, I remember going to the Dome and watching that all the time. And obviously then with the Colts and, pro football Hall of Famer, one of the good dudes in the sport, and just, gosh, a dominant player. The game against Virginia Tech in the Dome, I drove back from college to make sure that I would, see him in person one more time. Just an unbelievable player. Just ridiculous. And in college, you could say just the motor and the moves and the athleticism and all that, just insane. In closing, for your platform, when kind of a two-parter to end, people want to get involved. What kind of advice would you give them if they wanted to start with you? And also, when you get done with someone, lesson, video thing, tutorial, social media piece, whatever it is, where your experience with golf, you're teaching somebody the education part, however, you want to explain it. What do you hope those people, whether, they could be 8 years old, 12 years old, 20, 30, 40 years old, a pro athlete, a non-pro athlete, what do you hope they say about you?
Well, first of all, the first thing we always do whenever someone comes is we do a full game assessment. So I can't coach what I don't know. I mean, someone can tell me, well, I do this, I do this, I do this, and I do this. And I said, okay, well, why isn't it fixed? If you know so much, that's my mentality. Gotcha. Right. And so some people don't know the terms, or they don't know that like a slice is a slice. They think it's a hook, and so we have to, get nomenclature correct. And so we go through a full assessment, and then generally people fall into a plan with my experience, it could be anywhere from 6 appointments to, 30. It just depends on what level they want to get to, if they want to compete, if they want to just, I had a lady that once that said, I just want to hit it far enough with my driver so I can get in the cart and drive to it. Well, that's maybe 2 appointments or 3. And then we reached our goal. And then ultimately what happens is once they start to achieve, they want more. And so they go into maintenance programs. And then I think at the end of the day, I just want people when they come in to have fun and to learn. And then I always follow up with notes and video. And I have a platform called OnForm that we use that helps me archive their progress. So if someone were to come to me, I had this happen once where someone paid a lot of money and they wanted to shoot in the 80s, and we got them there. And then they went away for 6 weeks and they came back and they had reverted. And he came in, he tore me a new one about how this wasn't, good. And I'm, blah, blah, blah. I'm not happy. And I said, well, it's interesting because on this text you said this, and on this you said, and I'm rolling my phone on all the positive. He goes, oh, you got me. He goes, you got me. And I said, well, I don't want to get you. I just want you to understand that once you press the gas, you don't really let off.
Yeah.
You stay on it. And that's kind of where people, they don't understand when they're trying to master a skill. There's a learning line that they go on, and there's self, exploration, and there's learning, and then there's growth, and then there's skill acquisition, and then you put it under pressure, and then you get mastery. It's just like what you do. The first time you did a podcast, you were, probably pressing buttons and looking around, and now it's just like I could do it in my sleep.
Yeah, well, I was seasoned. I came from a traditional media side. I came from radio side, so the transition wasn't bad. But if you want to give me the radio part coming out of college, that I'll give you that one right there. Holy smoke! You come out like this radio board. I'd interned, but when you hit the mic and you do it yourself, there it is, right?
Right. It's a little different. I know when I started doing podcasts, I was like, how are you going to get a following when you don't have anything to talk about? And then you're like, do I have call-in? Do I have guests? Do I have both? Should I make it 10 minutes? And then you start to say, well, I'm not a podcaster. I'll be on podcasts all day, every day, but I won't ever do one again because it's just not my space. I'm not good at it. And you learn, as you go. And it's the same with golf, right? You learn the curve that you like, that you prefer, but you have to be able to curve it both ways to keep balance, in your life. And you got to challenge yourself. And a lot of times too, when people first get into the game, they learn it backward. They learn it the wrong way. They go out to the back tees and they try to play, and they want a challenge. I'm like, dude, you could play from 50 yards and you would be challenged.
Right.
You won't get anywhere near even par from 50 yards.
You could play from 15 feet from the cup and be challenged. Just bring your putter.
Yeah, there was a big study done about making the hole bigger.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The scores are the same.
Sure.
Because people don't hit greens.
Yeah.
So there's 2 putts is 2 putts.
Yeah, and if you don't hit the greens, you bring the bucket to that spot, right?
Right.
There you go.
Well, if you're 60 feet away on a wedge shot, you're gonna 3-putt. It doesn't matter if the hole is 10 feet big. You're still gonna 3-putt. You have no chance. And so people don't seem to understand or realize. And I try to make it fun with those statistics, right? With knowing proximities and knowing how their behaviors work too. And that's why you need relationships with people too. You need them to be in programs, not just 1 appointment or 2 appointments. It doesn't work that way. You won't fix anything.
No doubt. Well, that was a great explanation. Brian Jacobs Golf, a partner, a friend of the ML Sports Platter. You can go follow him on all the social platforms, including on X and on Instagram. BrianJacobsCoaching.com, PGA Director of Instruction. Has been doing it for a long time, of course. Golf Digest teachers to watch out in the great Rochester area. So hopefully I can finally see you this summer. And speaker, motivator, teacher, you name it. Been involved in the game of golf for decades. Brian Jacobs, thanks for the time. Appreciate you coming on board. I'll have you a couple more times probably upcoming here as we get close to major golf and throughout the year, and hopefully come out and see you in Rochester at some point. And I know you're pumped up for the Bills season. Good grief.
Yes.
I can't take any more of these playoff losses to the Chiefs, and I know you can't either. So we
No.
just want one, man. We want one
Yeah.
championship. And you and I, we love watching Josh Allen play, of course. We're texting all the time. So appreciate the time, my man, and keep up the great work, okay?
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate the opportunity.